Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today is a very exciting one because it's the first team selection video of the season. We do these every single week along with some other series, so if you're excited for the team selection videos this season and you're excited for the content too, please make sure to like, comment and subscribe. But without further ado, let's jump into today's video. Before we jump into looking at my draft, I am genuinely delighted to say that I have partnered with Fantasy Football Hub for the 22-23 FPL season. Here on this channel, we will be exclusively using the Hub website to deliver top quality analysis, plan ahead, and have the best possible season we can. On the Fantasy Football Hub website, there are genuinely countless tools that can help you to improve FPL, such as Opta statistics, projected points, and a new Rate My Team function, as well as the regular content in the form of articles, team reveals, and videos as well. Just for pre-season, Fantasy Football Hub are offering 50% off if you use the link in the description or the pinned comment. So I'll drop my link there, pinned comment or in the description. If you use either of those, you can get 50% off, but only for the next few days before game week 1. And you help support the channel, get 50% off, and you can use exactly the same site that I'll be using all season. You guys know that I take my stats very seriously here on this channel, and I'm very, very excited to use the new and improved website as well. So I won't talk about it too much, but link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Please do support the channel and also get access to what, in my opinion, is the best FPL site for the upcoming season. All of that being said, let's take a look at my team for game week 1. So a couple of things to note before we jump into looking at the players. I'm not 100% locked in, right? I'm recording this on Tuesday evening, ready for you guys on Wednesday morning. A lot can change over the next few days. We do have the press conferences as well, but due to it being a Friday deadline, I thought I'd get it out to you because I haven't made many changes over the past few weeks. We're talking about maybe 2 or 3 players. The structure has remained very, very stable since the game launched at the beginning of July. So I'm fairly happy showing this to you guys, but the players could potentially change, a few different personnel changes here and there. I am in a 4-4-2 formation. I genuinely do believe that that is the most flexible formation for moving on to different players that I might want in the first few game weeks before we play our first wild card. And I do finally, and I'm delighted about this, have a draft which I quite like that has 0.5 million in the bank. We've been discussing it all pre-season. It is ideal if you can get a draft where you've got a little bit of money in the bank. It just allows you to account for price rises and price falls in the first few game weeks. So I am delighted that I'm actually on a draft which I really like, which has 0.5 in the bank. That being said, it's so easy to find somewhere to spend that 0.5. There are countless positions in the defense, the midfield, the attack, and also the bench where I could quite easily use that 0.5. So again, not set on the 0.5 in the bank, but I think I am set on a 4-4-2 formation. Starting in goal, someone that you might not have seen on my channel in any of my drafts, and that is Ramsdale. Now, the reason for Ramsdale is I really do want to get into that Arsenal defence. I think Arsenal could do extremely well this season, specifically defensively over the first 8. I really do like the fixtures for Arsenal. They've looked very good in pre-season. The issue that I have is I really like Gabriel and I really like Zinchenko as well. And you've got 2 £4.5 million options that look like they'll be starting the season in Ben White and Saliba as well. So it's tricky to maybe justify Ramsdale at first, but I also like a lot of the other defenders from different teams. And I just think at £5 million, Ramsdale could be a brilliant keeper. He wasn't fantastic at points last season. His post-shot expected goals prevented was actually pretty poor compared to a lot of other keepers. But Arsenal are what I would consider almost the perfect team to have a goalkeeper from. They're fairly good defensively, but they also do give up quite a few shots, and Ramsdale does make quite a few saves. So I would expect quite a few clean sheets from Arsenal, but Ramsdale, as we saw last season, has it in his locker to get those hauls because Arsenal do concede a lot of shots from outside the box, also a few from inside the box, and Ramsdale does tend to be pretty good for bonus as well when he makes a few saves. So at the moment, Ramsdale's been my keeper. He's been my keeper for the last week or so. Just to let you guys know the other keepers that I'm considering, I have had Ederson in quite a few drafts at 5.5. I do still think that whilst he's not going to get you more than 6 points most week, they do add up those 6 pointers, and I do think the City will be the best defence again this season. So I like Ederson. If I am to go for a £4.5 million keeper, I'm still very keen on Raya. So at the moment, it's Ramsdale. Could be Raya, could be Ederson. I think I'm going to stick with the Arsenal man. 3 of the defenders make a lot of sense, and you've seen a lot of the teams, right? Trent is, in my opinion, the most underpriced asset this year at 7.5. I probably would have had Trent at 8.5 or 9. I genuinely think he's that fantastic of a value. Robertson is excellent. As you'll see, I've already used up my 3 Liverpool spots though, but I don't mind Robertson. As I said in my ranking the defenders video though, I do genuinely think that Trent is well and truly above Robertson for me, and you should have Robertson alongside Trent as opposed to instead of Trent. Cancelo has made it into probably my last 5 to 10 drafts. I don't think I'll be taking him out. I do think, like I said, Ederson is great value. Kyle Walker is an excellent choice at £5 million, assuming that City don't sign a left back or a right back before the season starts. Even if they do, I think Walker will get the nod at right back. So I do really like Walker at 5, even though his attacking potential isn't that high. I just think that Cancelo's got everything. Incredible for bonus. He gets the clean sheets as well. He's nailed on. I think he'll be very attacking this year. And with Haaland making a lot of runs, we've heard a lot of the stuff from Pep in his press conferences, talking about trying to get more crosses and passes into the box for Haaland. I genuinely think Cancelo could be even better than he was last year. And I think he had 11 FPL assists last year. I think he could genuinely even improve on that again this season. And then James is one which I know a lot of people have gone off of, right? Chelsea haven't looked fantastic in pre-season, especially defensively. There have been a few comments from Tuchel. It looks like James will be playing right wing back. Cucurella looks like he could be signing to maybe play at left centre back, which means that I think that will make James even more likely to start at wing back. And I just think the fixtures are pretty good. Even if there aren't that many clean sheets, even if they only get, say, 2 or 3 clean sheets in their first 6, James's attacking potential is so high that couple that with maybe 1 or 2 attacking returns, a few bonus points as well, I still think James represents excellent value. So for me, Trent, Cancelo and James have been in almost every single one of my drafts for the last 2 to 3 weeks. I can't see those 3 changing, and I can't really see Ramsdale changing either. So Trent, Ramsdale, James and Cancelo fairly locked in. The new addition is actually Kieran Trippier. Now, I had Perisic in this spot, 5.5. As you can see, I've got 0.5 in the bank. But I think I might start with a slightly more nailed on, slightly safer pick for expected minutes, also with good fixtures. I've looked at Trippier, obviously great fixtures over the first 5 if you take away Liverpool and City. I've looked at Luka Dean cash. I've looked at Kyle Walker. You can have a Gabriel or Zinchenko if you don't have a double up in attack. So there are so many good £5 million options that I think I might downgrade Perisic, go for a 5, and just bank that 0.5, like I said, to allow me a little bit more flexibility moving forward. I could even go for Doherty if I wanted to stick with the Spurs defence. I'm just a little bit wary about the Spurs wing-back still. Southampton at home, I don't know who's going to start the season. I think Perisic will. We'll have to see what happens in the press conferences. Then it's Chelsea. If he doesn't start against Southampton, then a tricky fixture. I wonder if I can either wait or just go without the Spurs defence for now because they are slight risks. The reason I've got Trippier in here, twofold. Number one, he's excellent with these set pieces. We saw in pre-season, corners, free kicks. He can do it all. And he's excellent from open play as well. Newcastle were fantastic defensively. But the main reason I've got Trippier ahead of the likes of Luka Dean, Kyle Walker, is he rotates very nicely with Patterson. So you can have Trippier for the first 2 excellent fixtures. You can then have Patterson coming for game week 3. Game week 4, Trippier has the better fixture. Then game week 5, I think Patterson has Leeds. So if you are happy going with Patterson ahead of Nico Williams, you can actually play Trippier for game week 1, 2 and 4 and play Patterson in game week 3 and 5. And it's a really nice rotation with your £4 million defender on the bench. So at the moment, I've actually got Trippier in my drafts alongside Patterson, and I'm going to try and rotate the 2 of those. And I think in doing so, I make the most of my £4 million bench option. And Patterson has looked really good in pre-season, looks fairly nailed on too. And I also get Trippier with pretty good attacking numbers in a very good Newcastle defence in the back end of last season with good fixtures. So let me know what you think down below of my Trippier inclusion. Maybe the only non-template pick in my back line. What I would say is this could quite easily be one of 3 or 4 players. It could quite easily be Perisic still. I might go to Walker or Luka Dean at £5 million too. I could even drop down to Dalot and have £1 million in the bank. But at the moment, I've gone with Trippier. That's the defence. Let's move on to the midfield. So guys, before we move on to actually discussing the midfielders, I've just got up that rotation. I didn't have it up in front of me when I was talking then for the Patterson and Trippier rotation. So you get Forest at home and Brighton away for Kieran Trippier. You then have Forest at home again for Patterson. You then go Wolves away for Trippier and then Leeds finally for Patterson in game week 5. And then you can basically keep Trippier in your team for Palace, West Ham, Bournemouth and Fulham, by which time most of us will probably play our wild card anyway. So like I said, you're basically playing Trippier every week, but you get a really nice rotation. And even if Trippier doesn't work out, you can always switch to a Luka Dean, Matty Cash, Walker, Gabriel Zinchenko, or even go down to one of the many £4.5 million defenders. So that was the rotation that I was talking about. Do consider Patterson, even though Nico Williams is, of course, a fantastic option too. The midfield is unfortunately a little bit template, but the thing is with template, we use it as such like a negative, dirty word. Oh, that's a template team, but it's template for a reason. And I don't necessarily think that as a content creator, it would be good practice for me to start picking random players just to make more entertaining comments or just to make it slightly different for you to watch. I don't think that's the way FPL should be played. You should play it for your enjoyment and your fun, but you should also play it to try and do well. And if I think these players are going to do well, then I'll still pick them. So it's a little bit of a template midfield, but I will still work through it and explain why I've got the options that I've got. So Salah for me, I've been saying it for about 2 years now on Twitter and a year on YouTube. It has been, by the way, a year since I created my channel yesterday. So that is super cool that we've been going for a year on this channel. But I've been saying it in every video. Salah is one of the best premiums. In my opinion, probably the best premium. It's not news. I'm not a revolutionary for saying it. But at 13 million, I still think that Salah is a fantastic option. I still think he's the best captaincy for game week 1. And I would argue he's the best captain for maybe 3 or 4 of the first 6 game weeks. And he does rotate quite nicely with both Spurs and City assets, but probably more preferably with a City asset for captaincy. So for me, Salah is definitely, unless he gets some sort of injury, going to be in my team, and he's definitely going to be my captain for game week 1. Whether it's template, whether it's safe, I don't particularly mind. I genuinely think he's the best captaincy option. And I do have Diaz in there. Now, we've spoken about this a while. I don't have the magic answer or the magic formula for whether you should go for Diaz or Robbo. I think there's a lot of things to consider in your team. The thing is, for me, that I've always said is I do like the £8 million spot. I know a lot of people think that I may be over-exaggerating the importance of it. Maybe I potentially am. You can get to most positions in your team with 2 or 3 transfers anyway, and you've got a wild card in your back pocket, so maybe you don't need an £8 million mid. But for me, I just think there's too much value with the 7-8 million pound mids that you've got, especially if you can bank 0.5. I can get from Diaz to any of the other 6, 7 million, £8 million mids, regardless of how much they go up in price in that first game week. So I've got that flexibility there. Even probably in game week 2 or game week 3, if I don't spend that 0.5, I've got ultimate flexibility to move to any of those £8 million mids. So that's why I like starting with Diaz. And I think even if I started with Robertson, I would still want to start with an £8 million mid. And I think if you get Robertson in there, you've either got to lose James or Cancelo, or if you get him in there instead of Trippier, you've then got to find 2 million to get another £8 million mid in there, if that makes sense. Otherwise, you won't have the funds to do so. I don't want to lose James and Cancelo, and I don't really want to downgrade and lose an £8 million spot in midfield, and I don't see another place to downgrade my team particularly. So for me, it's not necessarily I think Diaz is a better option than Robertson. I'll be completely honest, and this might sound a bit of a contradiction. I genuinely do believe that Robertson is probably a slightly better asset when you take into account price, but I really like that slot in my team, and I still think that Diaz has the potential, at least, to match or better Robertson if he kicks on in this season. I liked a little bit of what I saw in the Community Shield. A lot of people were criticising Diaz. It was when Firmino was on the pitch that he looked absolutely fantastic, but he was playing very central, and he was actually getting in behind a little bit more, rather than dropping deep and cutting inside. So I think Diaz is an excellent option. Not to say Robertson isn't. I just prefer the structure for my team, and I do think Darwin's a great option as well. I just think that I'm a little bit too worried about whether he actually starts in game week 1. So for now, Diaz is that third Liverpool spot, and like I said, if I do keep this 0.5, it makes it very easy for me to switch to a Kulusevski, Mount, whoever I want, Foden, Mahrez. Maybe for game week 2, could switch to a City mid. The other 2 mids in my team are both a little bit cheap, but I do think both will offer excellent value. Starting with Martinelli, he's looked really good in pre-season. Saka and Jesus have been in the goals a little bit more, along with Nketiah, but he's looked excellent. He's been very creative. We know his numbers have been consistently good ever since he burst onto the scene in the Premier League, and I just think that he'll kick on this season. And I know a lot of people have talked about Saka being on pens. I genuinely believe Martinelli would take a penalty if he won the penalty. We've seen, I think they talked about it on the FPL Wire, the last 5 penalties for Arsenal. It's basically been whoever's won the penalty takes the penalty. So I know Saka took a penalty in pre-season, but he did win the penalty. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jesus won a pen. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take it. I think if Martinelli won a pen, I wouldn't be surprised to see him take that as well. Potentially if someone else won a penalty, like a Ben White won a pen, maybe Saka is still first choice. I'm not confident enough to say that Saka's definitely on pens, though. And even if Martinelli's not on penalties, the numbers are good. He's playing in a very, very good-looking Arsenal team. They've looked incredible in pre-season. I think Martinelli's a very, very good pick at 6 million. I could potentially spread up to Rashford at 6.5. I'm just a little bit worried. I still don't know what's going on with Ronaldo. Where will Martial play? Will he sit on the bench? Will he rotate with Rashford? We've got Elanga in there as well. So I'm just a little bit worried about rotation with that Man United team. So for now, Martinelli gets that spot at that sort of 6 to 6.5 million pound price range. And Neto has maintained his place in my team. We've spoken about maybe the fact that he's so highly owned is what's putting me off, and that I want to go a little bit different in this spot. For now, Neto maintains his place. He did have a non-penalty expected goal involvement of 0.6 last season, which if you watch my midfielders video released a few days ago, Neto is the best option when we're looking at underlying data for that price point. The only other options that I'm considering in that spot right now are Aronson and Rodrigo of Leeds. I think Leeds fixtures going slightly under the radar at the moment. Leeds have looked very good in pre-season. Both Rodrigo and Aronson getting quite a few attacking returns. So I really like those two as an option. I think they could be 2 excellent picks. Aronson's probably the one I'm considering most just because he's obviously a little bit cheaper than Rodrigo, but I like both of those. Let me know down below if you've still got Neto in your team. Have you maybe got a Leon Bailey? I don't mind Bailey. Again, it's a bit of that price point issue and maybe just not being 100% sure on his minutes, but I could quite easily start with Bailey instead of Neto, I suppose. That would bank me £1 million, and if Bailey does do well, then maybe I just keep him. For now, Neto maintains his spot, though. I like Leeds and Fulham's in the first two. The high ownership, I don't see a reason to go against that, really. I don't see a massive reason to take a risk when I think he's a fantastic option. He's got good data. I think he's probably the best option. Jimenez being injured is a slight worry. We'll have to wait and see. That spot, along with Trippier and Neto, those are the two spots where I'm not 100% convinced. Could drop to Dallo. Could even get, if I do Trippier to Dallo, I could get Neto to Rashford. So those two spots there, I feel like I could take a couple of risks. For now, Trippier is a bit of a risk. Neto is maybe the slightly safe pick. Let's look at the two strikers and the bench options too. So as you can probably tell by the thumbnail, I have currently got Erling Haaland ahead of Kane. This is not an easy decision. I've genuinely gone back and forth about 30 times in pre-season. It's frustrating that there's no correct answer. And it does feel like it has the potential, this decision, to really backfire either way. It feels like it could be like Kane scores a hat-trick and Haaland doesn't even start, or one of them gets injured and the other one goes on to score a brace. It feels like the sort of decision that we saw last year where it feels almost like a 50-50, but it has the potential to backfire. I'll be honest, I think the fair thing would be hopefully both of them do well. I know that's a crazy thing to say when I don't own Kane, but I feel like that would be the fair thing to happen. But FPL isn't fair and life isn't fair. The reason I'm going for Haaland is his numbers are excellent. He accumulated over 1.5 XG in the Community Shield. For those of you that don't really care about stats, he got an incredible amount of chances. Yes, he missed a couple of sitters. He missed 2 one-on-ones and basically an open goal at one point. But he's getting chances. He's been an excellent finisher for seasons now. His conversion rate is very, very high. I see no reason to think that suddenly Erling Haaland has forgotten how to shoot. I don't think it's to do with the quality of the keepers. When you look at some of his finishes, they're going bottom corner, top corner. The fact that he's at least accumulating chances, the fact that he got 90 minutes in the Community Shield as well, which is absolutely huge for me. I think I've seen enough from Haaland and I've seen enough from City that I think he'll get chances. And I'm just really eyeing up that Game Week 2 fixture. I really think Haaland is the best captaincy shout against Bournemouth at home in Game Week 2. And as I've spoken about in previous videos, whilst I don't think that Salah and Kane, the rotation's bad between the two of them, I do think that Salah and Haaland, I think the rotation's better. The other option you've got is starting with Kane and moving to Haaland in Game Week 2. The reason I'm not necessarily a massive fan of that is I don't like booking in transfers because, and I know it would be very unlucky, but say James starts at centre-back and I'm slightly worried about him, Trippier gets injured, Neto gets injured and Martinelli gets sent off, right? It would probably never happen, that many bad things, but all of a sudden you've booked in a transfer to go from Kane to Haaland and you've got maybe 2 or 3 injuries and 1 suspension and a bit of rotation, and all of a sudden you're thinking, well, I probably can't afford that luxury transfer anymore. So I don't like booking in transfers for that reason, and I just think as a result, I think I would like to potentially just stay with Haaland. And I'm not confident enough personally. If we're viewing a transfer as being worth 4 points and the fact that you might have to take a hit if something goes wrong, I'm not confident enough that that Kane outscores Haaland by more than 4 points in Game Week 1. I could quite easily see Haaland scoring against West Ham. They're a great defence, but that doesn't mean that City can't score. So putting that all together, for now, just due to that Game Week 2 fixture, due to the rotation for captaincy being slightly better with Salah than with a Spurs player, I've currently got Salah and Haaland as my 2 premiums. Please let me know down below, the big question of the video, who are your premiums in your team at the moment? If you've got 1, 2 or 3, and who are they? Salah and Haaland are probably the 2 most popular ones, but I know a lot of people are on Kane at the moment. And I've even seen some like Kane and KDB rotations as well. And of course, there are a few people going for 3 mims too. The final player in my starting 11 is Gabriel Jesus. I see absolutely no reason to go without him. Excellent numbers for City last season. Looks great in pre-season. Arsenal look good. The fixtures are absolutely excellent from Game Week 3 onwards. I don't see the benefit of going against him. I know we're not going to gain much anyway because he's so highly owned, but you're going to be massively punished. And unless you've got some really good logic, I don't think not going for Jesus because he's very highly owned is a good enough reason for me to avoid him. So that's pretty much that on Jesus. I don't need to convince you he's a fantastic option. He's over 70% owned for, I think he's going to have the highest ownership of any player ever in Game Week 1, which is absolutely ridiculous. He's definitely underpriced. Other forwards that I have been considering at that price, just like I've done with the midfielders, just to suggest a few that I might potentially consider outside of that. I still think Kai Havertz could be a good option at 8 million, and I still really like Vardy at 9.5. It's just a very, very tricky price point to try and get to. Outside of that, I do think that Martial will start the season for Game Week 1 and Game Week 2, potentially even to Game Week 3, but if we don't sell Ronaldo, I do think we'll start to see Ronaldo edged back in, which means Martial either gets pushed out to the left and Rashford gets dropped, or we just see Martial rotated a little bit and sitting on the bench. But if you want to take a risk with a Game Week 1 punt, I do really like Martial. Moving on to the bench, I've got Ward because apparently it looks like Schmeichel's gone, and then obviously Ward and I think Iverson will rotate potentially for the goalkeeping spot. Ward has been injured, but he's played a pre-season game now behind closed doors. So by all accounts, we don't know exactly who's going to be starting the season for Leicester. They could even sign a keeper potentially, but it looks like Ward could be first choice. The quotes that we've seen from Rodgers in press conferences seem to hint towards Ward being first choice. I'm not sure I feel comfortable just going for Ward as my starting keeper and another 4 million. But out of all of the £4 million keepers, I think Ward's probably the best option at the moment. We've got Andreas at 4.5. I still think he's arguably the best £4.5 million midfielder. I did like the look of De Silva, but I'm not sure he's 100% nailed on in that Brentford side. So for now, Andreas at Fulham, being on quite a few set pieces, potentially playing in like a number 10 role or at least an advanced number 8 role. I think Andreas could be a great option. My £4.5 million striker of choice is Cameron Archer. It looks like he's not going to be going on loan. Looks like he's going to be considered a vital part of the Aston Villa setup this season. Yes, he's behind Watkins. Yes, he's behind Danny Ings as well. I'm not expecting him to get a lot of minutes, but if we see any injuries or we just see him put in a few really good performances, I do think he could get the odd 10, 15 minutes off the bench, which is pretty much all you expect from a £4.5 million forward. And then, like I said, I've got Patterson in there playing right back for Everton. Looks like he's going to displace Coleman even when Coleman's fit. He's looked really good in pre-season, picked up a couple of assists. And just due to that rotation with Trippier, I think Patterson's currently just ahead of Nico Williams as my £4 million defender of choice. If I don't go for Trippier, I might potentially be able to get a slightly better rotation with Nico Williams and another £5 million defender, which I'll consider. But at the moment, this is my squad of 15. 4-4-2, super flexible, got all of the major price points covered, got all of the major defenses and teams covered. The only real omission in this team is I don't have any Spurs assets. I did have Perisic, like I said, I could get to Doherty, and Son and Kane and Kulusevski, obviously none of those guys in my team. So I don't like that, but you can't own everyone. If I have Kane instead of Haaland, all of a sudden we go, well, you've got no Manchester City attackers. And then if I get a Manchester City attacker in, well, we go, well, then you've got no Diaz or you've got no Martinelli. So there's always going to be someone and some sort of price point or team that you're not covering. It's impossible to own everyone. It's impossible to do everything with your team. But I think this is the best of everything that I can possibly get. I really like the 0.5 in the bank. I like the formation. Please let me know. Give me a rating down below. Rate my team out of 10. I can take criticism quite well. So if you don't like my team, let me know what you don't like about it. Always interested to hear your thoughts and to have some sort of insightful discussions in the comments. And feel free to drop your drafts down below as well. The final thing I wanted to do is just have a look a little bit sort of planning ahead, because I think we've got a little bit carried away, and I do this as well. When we're looking at our Game Week 1 team, we just look at teams that have decent fixtures, and we look at specifically Game Week 1 and we build a team that we like. But we maybe don't consider things, like I said, like a Trippier and Patterson rotation. A lot of people don't consider rotations. A lot of people don't consider that maybe a lot of your players have a really tricky fixture in, say, Game Week 3, where a lot of teams have some tricky fixtures that we might own in Game Week 1. So we're going to use the Fantasy Football Hub Rate My Team tool, the new My Team feature. We're going to look ahead, and we're also going to look at what they think of my current setup. So guys, let's look at how my team looks for Game Week 1 and beyond, and look a little bit further ahead about how we might use our transfers in the coming game weeks. As I said, I'm using the new Fantasy Football Hub My Team feature, which is new this season. Looks absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited to use it throughout the season. And like I said at the start of the video, if you would like 50% off, use the link in the description or the link in the pinned comment. It supports me, and you're also getting to use this incredible site, which we'll be using throughout the season. It gives you loads of different things on this page. So if you go to the My Team section, it gives you a team rating. My team rating is 97%. So this is your overall team rating based on the current game week and predictions over time. It weights it slightly higher to the nearer weeks, though. So over the coming game weeks, I've got 97% team rating. I have seen a few people with 100% team rating, which is absolutely awesome. I've got 87% for this game week, so I'm set up fairly well for Game Week 1. And I'm predicted to get 66.3 points. What I would love you to do is, if you're already a member of Fantasy Football Hub, or if you sign up using my link in the comment, link in the pinned comment, link in the description, please do let me know what your projected points are for Game Week 1. So I'm at 66.3. Let me know if you can beat me with your current setup using the Fantasy Football Hub My Team feature. What I really wanted to do, though, so this is for Game Week 1. You know this already. We've gone through it. I just wanted to look at some future game weeks and look where I might potentially use my transfers and if I need to use them in any of the upcoming game weeks. So this is Game Week 1. If we just go ahead to Game Week 2, you can see I'm still at 85%, slightly lower predicted points, but the team's really well set up for Game Week 2. So what my current plan is, and I try and do this every season, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, is I like to roll my transfer in Game Week 2. And then what I do is we call it like a mini wildcard in Game Week 3. It's not actually using a wildcard, but you've got 2 free transfers. And if you make a third transfer for a -4, you can make 3 transfers and it'll only cost you 4 points. So what my probably current plan is to try and get through Game game week 2 with essentially a very similar team or the same team, my captain would probably switch to Haaland, which will get me up to 67.6 points, 88%, which is actually better than game week 1. Could even captain Cancelo if I wanted to. I have the option here to bring in a Man City mid, but at this stage, I'm probably just thinking, just switch down to the bench, by the way, just so that you can see it a little bit better there. I'll probably just play this exact 11, right? I do have the option of Patterson against Villa. I have the option of Andreas against Wolves, Archer against Everton if I want to play any of them, but the starting 11 is super strong. I don't see any really tricky fixtures there, apart from maybe potentially James against Tottenham. If we then just switch to game week 3, this is a slightly more difficult game week for my team, but the way that I've set it up is it's not as difficult as it will be for some teams. What you've got is you've got a lot of the Wolves play. The Wolves obviously play Tottenham. Some people have 1 or 2 Wolves players. You've got Newcastle play City. Man United play against Liverpool. Liverpool play against United. A lot of the players for the teams that we've picked players from have pretty tricky fixtures in game week 3. But like I said, this is the game week where I can actually switch Trippier with Patterson, who's playing Forest at home, right? That boosts me up quite well. I'm happy playing Patterson. I know Everton aren't the best defence, but it's definitely better than Trippier against Man City. I've also got Andreas against Brentford here. So I think genuinely, if Andreas is playing in that number 10 role and he looks good, I might bring Andreas in for Neto. And all of a sudden, the team's maybe looking slightly stronger. 63.1 points, 82%. But remember, at this stage, I actually have 2 free transfers. So it's very difficult to say at this stage how I might use them, but I have the option at least here to switch it up a little bit. I might even captain maybe Haaland, or potentially might be the best captaincy would maybe be Gabriel Jesus. We'll have to see at this stage. I know Salah's a fantastic captaincy option against Manchester United, but we have quite a few decent options here. You can see I've got Gazzaniga in there. That'll actually be Ward. I haven't switched that out, but I could even play Ward in a couple of these games if he's got decent fixtures ahead of Ramsdale, but I'll probably play Ramsdale most weeks. The team's actually looking really, really solid. I mean, even we go through to game week 4 here, the team's looking really strong. At this stage, I can either play Patterson against Brentford or Trippier against Wolves. I would have made 2 transfers at this stage, but you can see actually this is my best game week. Game week 4, I'm at 95%, 73.1 projected points as well. The team just continues to be really good. Game week 5, 87%. Game week 6, 87%. Right? Game week 8, 68%. So game week 7, I should say 84%. So it's around when we get to game week 8 that the team starts to look pretty tricky, at which point I'll either have already wildcarded or I'll be wildcarding. So I'm not naive to say that this team's perfect. I won't need to make any transfers. I'm going to get loads of points every single week. But the way that I've built my team and the way that you've probably built your team if you've got something similar is that the team looks really good for all of the future coming game weeks, both on the algorithms from the eye test, the way it's structured. I think I've set up my team in a really nice place, and this is why I'm maybe happy going for a Trippier, a £5 million defender, and looking from there. The only notable omission, I will say it again because I'm acknowledging it, is I don't have any Spurs attackers. Maybe I could potentially switch Diaz to Kulusevski at some point, or I might want to switch Haaland out to a Kane, or potentially get down to a Son in midfield. So I have that option there, especially if I have all of these free transfers. But for now, I'm pretty happy with the team. Like I said, please let me know down below what is your current game week rating, team rating, and also predicted points for game week 1. Really interested to hear your thoughts down below. And just the final time in this video, please do support the channel by checking out Fantasy Football Hub. Links will be down below. Sign up for the season. Use the same website as me, and I guarantee it will help us get a better rank. So guys, there you have it. That is my Game Week 1 team selection video done. I'm so excited for this series to be back. If you're new to the channel, we have this series every single week. We have a Game Week preview series every week. We're going to have some transfer tips videos every week as well, and a deadline stream. So there's going to be at least 3 or 4 videos every single week. So if you're excited for that and you're excited for the content in general, please do subscribe down below. We're trying to hit 20,000 subscribers before the start of Game Week 1. We are less than 1,000 subscribers away now. So if you want to help a man achieve his dream of hitting 20k subs before the start of the season, please do consider doing so down below. Like I said, do check out Fantasy Football Hub. Best of luck for Game Week 1. If this is the final piece of content you watch, best of luck. I will be doing a deadline stream on Friday at lunchtime, so please tune into that. Till next time, guys, thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.